What's up? This is Jonathan Shuttlesworth inviting you to our fasting and prayer services to begin the new year, 2020. You know, how you begin a year matters. And when you begin it in fasting and prayer, anyone will tell you that's participated with us in the past that you see God do amazing things. Look at the change in the nation since we've started doing these meetings and praying for America. And then you talk to people who have been a part of it. The same God that's bringing great change to America brings change to the people who take time to humble themselves and pray on behalf of their nation and their church and their generation. So I don't want you to miss out on it. January 2nd through the 22nd at Champion Christian Center, every day at noon and 7 p.m. Everybody can't come for all 21 days, but everyone can come for 3 days. You might have to get on a plane or a bus or an ox cart or a rickshaw, whatever you have to do. Get to the greater Pittsburgh area and join us for these life-changing meetings. Mark chapter 9, Jesus clearly said that there's certain limitations, certain things that won't happen unless you combine fasting with prayer. But when you combine them, it's explosive. This is going to be the greatest year you've ever had as you hook in with God. I look forward to seeing you to start the new year. God bless you. Evangelist Jonathan Shuttlesworth, thank you for watching today's broadcast. I want to make you aware of a couple things. Number one is you can get my podcast on any of the platforms that are listed on the screen right now. Number two, we have an app that contains our 24-hour radio station, Revival Today Radio, that I promise you, if you make that a part of your daily routine, it'll change your life immeasurably. The app is Revival Today. It's free to download, and you can find our radio station along with many other useful things there. Number three, if you would go on our YouTube channel, Jonathan Shuttlesworth, and click the subscribe button, that helps me. I look forward to seeing you in just a couple minutes live. Thanks again for watching. Hi, this is Jonathan Shuttlesworth, and you know, as a Christian on New Year's Eve, you're often faced with a dilemma. You can either go to something that you can't really hook in with, where there's drinking and carnal partying, or you can just stay home and watch other people have fun on TV, which is no way to ring in the new year. I have a third option for you. You can join us for one of the greatest nights you'll ever have in your life, which is our New Year's celebration in the greater Pittsburgh area. The information's on the screen. It's $60 a person. This is not a proper church service. This is a great banquet where you'll meet people from all over the nation and other nations in the world who have the same love for God as you, as we give thanks to God for everything He's done in 2019 and then begin the year committing the new year to God in the early hours of 2020, and it makes a difference. How you start a new year, consecrating it to God, in the presence of God. I promise you, it'll set the stage for this year to be a year unlike any other. So join us December 31st, 9 p.m. as we ring in the new year together in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I look forward to seeing you soon. God bless you.
He's not going to be the nominee, Chuck. I mean, as you know, I'm ahead in Ohio.
So, Jenny, could he actually win?
No freaking way!
He will be tempted to run, be predictably shellacked.
Do not tell me that Donald Trump is in this to win this, okay? He's a sideshow.
This is going to turn a three-ring circus into a freak show.
He's not running for president. He's running for Keep Me Famous.
I thought this was maybe some strategy for a new reality show.
How should Republicans handle Donald Trump?
Ignore him.
And Donald Trump is not going to be the nominee of this party.
Well, I don't think it's likely that Donald Trump will be the nominee.
Well, I do, based on your theme, believe that he's here to stay for a while, maybe through a few primaries, but he is not going to be the nominee.
Well, I'm going to support the Republican nominee, and I'm comfortable that it's not going to be Donald Trump.
There's not going to be a President Donald Trump. That's not going to happen.
Donald Trump will not become president.
He's not going to be president. He is not, Donald Trump is not going to be president of the United States. Take it to the bank. Okay. I guarantee it.
All right, all right.
I think if he becomes the president, he'll make it great, because the states is already great.
I think that man will be president of the United States right about the time that spaceships come down filled with dinosaurs and red capes.
On that note, Tom,
take it from me. How about that?
Cheers, Tom.
And then, of course, there's Donald Trump. Donald Trump has been saying that he will run for president as a Republican, which is surprising since I just assumed he was running as a joke.
Donald Trump, just last week, he confirmed to the National Review that he is again considering a run in 2016.
Do it. Do it. Look at me.
do it. I will personally write you a campaign check now on behalf of this country, which does not want you to be president, but which badly wants you to run.
So when you stand and deliver that State of the Union address, in no part of your mind or brain can you imagine Donald Trump standing up one day and delivering a State of the Union address?
Well, I can imagine it in a Saturday night skit. I continue to believe Mr. Trump will not be president.
He will never be president of the United States.
And we better be ready for the fact that he might be leading the Republican ticket next.
I know you don't believe that, but I want to go on.
Sorry to laugh.
Okay, here we are. And which Republican candidate has the best chance of winning the general election?
Of the declared ones, right now, Donald Trump.
And so, right now, Mr. Trump, to answer your call for political honesty, I just want to say, you're not going to be president, all right? But come on, buddy. All, let's say, cow poo-poo aside, there is zero chance we'll be seeing you being sworn in on the Capitol steps with your hand on a giant golden Bible.
I'll make a prediction, though, for you. I don't really get into predictions much, but this one I'll go way out on a limb. Donald Trump will never, ever be president of the United States. That Trump should not be in this race. He's an absurdity. He is a travesty.
Donald Trump will never be elected president of the United States.
Donald Trump is a here today, gone tomorrow candidate for president of the United States. Donald Trump is not going to be president of the United States. Ever respectful of the fact that the people have not voted, he's not going to be president of the United States.
Let's be clear. Donald Trump will lose the election.
I mean, he had a really good chance to be different and really have a chance to change things, but he doesn't do the work. He's lazy.
We talk about him every day, and we continuously bash him.
He's not going to be the president. Don't worry about it.
Exactly.
This will be a wake-up call to the Republican Party. Despite Boris thinking that Donald Trump could win New York, like this, the presidential race is over.
Could I just cut through? I have one thing to say, one thing only, and that is that this race is over. Tomorrow morning, the money will dry up. The Republicans will start to hide. Trump has no place to go. This race, effectively, as of tonight, is no longer a presidential race. I mean, everything I know about presidential politics, and I've been through 5 of them, I've never seen one like this. This race is over. You might as well accept it. And the question now is, how do you minimize damage? And the only way you can do that, it seems to me, is to try to grab hold of some old conservative value things and do what Mondale did in '84, which is try to save a few people down ballot. But as far as Donald Trump's concerned, it will never, ever, ever happen.
President Obama will go down as perhaps the worst president in the history of the United States! Exclamation point at real Donald Trump. Well, at real Donald Trump, at least I will go down as a president.
Our new NBC News Survey Monkey poll is out today. It puts Hillary Clinton up by 10 points over Donald Trump. And this is not the first poll since the conventions to give Clinton a double-digit lead. This is actually the 4th. 4 polls that have Clinton up by more than 10 points, or at least 10 points. Staying the kind of lead she has leaped out into this race, you could see other states that suddenly get crazy. States you wouldn't have even imagined, like a South Carolina, even a Texas, they could at least become competitive. And what it would mean doesn't mean Hillary Clinton's going to win all of these. It means we could have more competitive states than we ever imagined. That's the way the lay of the land right now at this low moment for Donald Trump. We'll be back right after this.
We are back with David Hundo P. Plouffe, the man who says Hillary Clinton has a 100% chance of winning. So that means that no scenario that we could lay out to get Donald Trump to 270 electoral votes is something he would buy. So we thought we'd get David in here to look at those scenarios that the Republicans are talking about, citing them as a potential path to victory, and explain to us why they are not just implausible, but impossible.
And if you look at Wisconsin, the Marquette poll came out yesterday. She's up 6 points. She's up 4 points in our polling in Pennsylvania. If she keeps those together, all she needs is New Hampshire, and she puts the race away, and she's up there.
Well,
so
for
again,
them,
the whole Colorado. I mean,
for them to look at fortune, and it is true, fortune favors the bold.
Yeah.
But if the Comey bomb didn't get them where they need to be,
that really is the question, right?
It's it'll be interesting tomorrow night, I think, when Hillary Clinton wins, that Donald Trump will have lost this election from the very first day he announced.
If the numbers bear out what we're seeing thus far, Hillary Clinton will win Florida. And the delicious irony in this is that Donald Trump will have been kept from the White House by a big, beautiful brown wall.
And CNN projects Donald Trump will carry the state of Florida, Kentucky, Indiana, West Virginia, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Mississippi, South Carolina, Alabama, Kansas with its 6 electoral votes, Nebraska with its 5 electoral votes, and Wyoming with its 3 electoral votes, North Dakota with its 3 electoral votes, and South Dakota, Texas, Arkansas. He has now taken the lead. Donald Trump has 128 electoral votes. Louisiana, the state of Montana, Missouri, Ohio. He has 167 electoral votes compared to Hillary Clinton's 109. Idaho, North Carolina, Georgia, Iowa, Utah, Wisconsin, Arizona.
But we should really just take a moment here and look at this. Pollsters predicted that Hillary Clinton was going to have not just a victory, but that she was going to win an electoral landslide. Not only is that not happening, it is entirely possible that Donald Trump is truly redrawing the map the way that he said he was going to. It was Donald Trump versus almost all the experts, and as of right now, it looks like Donald Trump was right.
Donald Trump has defeated Hillary Clinton to become president-elect of the United States.
Sorry to keep you waiting. Complicated business. Complicated.
This is not the outcome we wanted or we worked so hard for, and I'm sorry that we did not win this election.
I love this country.
The shockwaves from Donald Trump's victory continue to be felt across America and around the world.
Donald Trump wird der 45.
Élu Donald Trump, President-elect Donald Trump.
Everyone was wrong. The backlash begins. Some magazines are facing big embarrassments today. Newsweek had already shipped out this cover, Madam Secretary, but quickly had to change it to this, President Trump.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
And will, to the best of my ability.
And will, to the best of my ability.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Hope you had a great Christmas. Jonathan Shuttlesworth back live in our studios in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So, I got a lot to get to, and I have a noon appointment. So, we're going to check the news. Happy New Year. Remember, we're having our New Year's Eve party, and we got 20 spots available. So, if you'd like to come, I'd love to have you. And see you on December 31st. And they'll have that stuff up at the end of the program. But, oh yeah, coffee. The title of today, grab a coffee and let's check the news. I waited to take a sip out of respect to you until you came on. So whatever you grabbed, that helps. Who got that? Sugar's in it? Well, that espresso shot must have been stiff then. That'll help. All right, let's do it. These are militant vegans at an In-N-Out, trying to pull people out of the In-N-Out for eating beef.
Get your hands off
And I give this guy credit for manhandling somebody wearing that 1950s diner cook suit, because you can't feel tough in that, but he was tough anyway.
I did not do anything wrong. This is America. We can use our voice. Get your hands off of her. I have not. Keep your hands off of her.
No one's touching anyone. Switch to decaf.
My friend out. Sarah! In here. My property is in here. Take it. They're here. My property is in here. Get it. Hey. Right here.
Let's go.
She was assaulted. She was assaulted. Of her rights. What are you doing? She was the one who was assaulted. She was the one who was assaulted. She was the one who was assaulted.
Man, don't you wish it was like 1955 and there was some like 6'5" Irish police captain?
What are you doing? She's not.
Guy would have got his skull opened up like a ripe melon.
What the fuck are you doing?
I can't believe you're allowed to do that to the police.
That is cruel and unusual punishment.
God bless the police, especially in California. Next. Why do the majority of evangelicals stand by the real Donald Trump? It's not just the results. They also know the Bible is replete with examples of flawed individuals being used by God. Put another way, God uses imperfect people to accomplish God's perfect will. And then the tweet that was above that was David Brody from CBN. This is a guy, he was on our program this year. He's a professor in Georgia. Such examples are not just found in the Bible. Secular history is complete with examples of bad men serving as good leaders, Constantine, and good men being lousy rulers. And he didn't give an example, but you could do Jimmy Carter. Trump falls into the former category. Rarely are good leaders also good men. Lincoln. So that's just because there's been blowback for like the last 10 days since that guy wrote that article about how could a Christian support Donald Trump. There's the answer to it. It's about, it's like I keep telling you, I don't care whether my airplane pilot has a prayer life or goes to church. I care whether he can fly a plane. And it's the same. It's results oriented. And we weren't voting for a savior. We were voting for a president. And then Trump wasn't running against Jesus. He was running against Hillary. Anything you want to point out against Trump as character flaws, you can Google Clinton body count and find out they haven't exactly been perfect either. So I thought those were pretty good. Next. Oh, do you have the article? Or just the picture? Okay. Well, that was the picture to an article, so it didn't make any sense about, let me find that real quick. Because it lets you know where climate change is going. That the end goal is not to fix the climate. It's like climate change. First of all, if the whole world's going to burn up in 12 years, then I actually put this out, and nobody answered me. I would like to know, honestly, for somebody that believes in climate change and that it's going to wreck the world in 12 years, like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said, or even if you say 30 years, or even if you say 100 years, that it's going to do irreversible damage. I would like for somebody to outline a plan for me that shows something that will change the climate in less than 100 years. Because you can't do it. So you know it's a cover for something. Let me see if I can find it. Can't be too far down. There it is. Okay. The lady that wrote it is Kian, and her last name is Goh. And it was for thenation.com. The devastation of California's fires and climate change should compel us to rethink our ideals of house and home. My article in The Nation is intended to broach necessary conversations about our obsession with ownership and property. Paul Joseph Watson wrote, climate policies aren't about controlling the climate, they're about controlling you. Because when they ran it in The Nation, it says, if we want to keep cities safe in the face of climate change, we need to seriously question the ideal of private home ownership. So that's like right out of USSR, communist China back in when Mao launched it, that you can't own anything for the world to work. So now climate change is going to be a front where there's an article written in the United States that we need to question whether people have the right to own property. And that's what communism is, that it's a crime for a private individual to own anything. Everything belongs to the state. So there you go. There's the end game of climate change. Politicians are not sleeping or up at night unable to sleep because they're worried about the planet. Everything is always a mask for something. Universal health care, climate change. It's all about getting money from the people to the elite. Next. Elizabeth Warren. 1 year ago today, Felipe Gomez Alonso died in CBP custody. That's Border Patrol, or Customs Enforcement. He was just 8 years old. This Christmas, I'm heartsick for all the families who won't be celebrating together because of the Trump administration's cruel treatment of immigrants and asylum seekers. So first of all, I wanted to deal with this because here's another thing you're going to get nailed with if you vote for Donald Trump, is Trump puts kids in cages at the border. How can you as a Christian be for that? Well, almost all the pictures they used of the kids in the cages were from the Obama administration. And then he inherited that. I mean, that's been a major problem that they're now just highlighting to make him seem racist. But it's been going on for a long time. Then second of all, then they'll tell about these kids that die in custody, which happens. You know, I don't know how many a month, or whether it's even one a month. It'll be one every 3 months, a few a month. But what they don't tell you, it's not like healthy children are being detained in CBP custody and then they're like deprived food and water and die. You remember AOC said they were having to drink water out of the toilet. And then they all toured and found out that it's not true, that they're being provided the best they could. One guy described it like this: if 1,000 people showed up at your house tomorrow and all you were forced to give them access into your home, and then the news came a day later and said how messy the conditions at your house are and you don't have enough beds for the people and how terribly they're being treated, what are you supposed to do? Those places were not designed to hold the entire populations of Nicaragua, Guatemala, and Mexico that want to come into the United States. So these kids that come and die arrive sick. Their parents, paid drug trafficking coyotes or guys connected to the cartels to bring them in. They've walked hundreds, if not thousands of miles, and they're arriving with diseases. Some of them die in less than a day when they get there. But anyway, they spotlight it like we're detaining because Trump hates Hispanics. He keeps them in cages until they die. But then this was a lady's response to that tweet that I thought was pretty interesting. This is Sabina Coulter. This is how I, a legal immigrant, get to spend the 8th Christmas with my only child. This is his urn. He was 30 years old when he was killed by an illegal. I was in your office. She's writing to Elizabeth Warren. I was in your office, and you ran past the room I sat in wanting to share with you. Cut out the BS about caring for anyone but new voters. And so there's always a spotlight. I mean, if anybody dies in custody or whatever, they spotlight it. But there is no mainstream coverage of the parents who lose children and spouses who lose, a wife who loses a husband that loses a wife from someone who came into the country illegally or has been arrested and evades deportation because of sanctuary city laws, whatever, and people die. You want to bring up those stories that have nothing to do with what America did, and then there's Americans who lose people. That lady has to spend Christmas with the urn of her 30-year-old son who was killed by an illegal immigrant, and that's written by a legal immigrant. And again, notice how they always take legal and illegal out. They'll just be like, Trump's immigration ban. These people are against immigration. It's against illegal immigration. So there's a narrative that stories have to fit. I'm taking way too much time, so go on. Dr. Michael Brown with a good tweet. Isn't it revealing that in today's America, as a public person, you can destroy your career if you make one homophobic or racist slur, but you can bash and mock and ridicule conservative Christians to your heart's delight without penalty. And seeing that just reinforced kind of how I already felt, which is Why should one group of people be able to be mocked without any recourse? And then also, if they say anything back that side disagrees with, then they're vilified. I didn't sign up for that. So everyone should be free to speak. But don't make a show on Netflix depicting a gay Jesus, always picking on one group of people. You're not going to see anything about a gay Muhammad or a gay Allah. I guarantee you that. But there's one group you can pick on Christians, and then we're supposed to feel bottled up and not able to express our side. So I never agreed with that anyway, but that when I saw Dr. Brown express that, made me feel that way even more. Next. Kevin Spacey accuser dead at 47, making the third since May. And here's his holiday message that's not creepy at all, which is written sarcastically. Before they play it, Kevin Spacey was accused of sexual assault. Major sexual assault allegations, including with, I believe, an underage boy. And I should stop just guessing off the top of my head what I remember from the news as to not get sued. Allegedly, I'll throw that in. And then now the third accuser has died since May. And then this, now knowing that a third one just got killed, this was his Christmas video that he released. Go ahead and play it.
You didn't really think I was going to miss the opportunity to wish you a Merry Christmas, did you? It's been a pretty good year, and I'm grateful to have my health back. And in light of that, I've made some changes in my life, and I'd like to invite you to join me. As we walk into 2020, I want to cast my vote for more good in this world.
Ah, yes, I know what you're thinking. Can he be serious?
I'm dead serious. And it's not that hard, trust me. The next time someone does something you don't like, you can go on the attack. But you can also hold your fire and do the unexpected. You can kill them with kindness.
He released that with the music. Interesting. Next. I'm live, Angela. Elizabeth Warren's brother reportedly furious she claims their father was a janitor. Here's the actual article in my hand. Massachusetts Senator and Democratic presidential candidate Elizabeth Warren apparently angered her brother by claiming their father worked as a janitor, with a family friend saying that the characterization... Why am I slurring my speech like Nancy Pelosi? I promise you there's only coffee in here. Worked as a janitor with a family friend saying that the characterization made David Herring furious. The Boston Globe published an article this week about Warren's 3 older brothers that contained the detail related by a family friend and not directly contradicted by Warren, who told the paper she didn't know why the claim would anger her brother. Families can also disagree on the details of a shared life, according to a family friend. David has disagreed with the way Warren calls herself the daughter of a janitor, and she describes the work he found after losing a job as a salesman after his heart attack. Perhaps the difference between maintenance man and janitor is in the eye of the beholder, as janitors do perform maintenance tasks. But as Warren herself pointed out to the Globe, it's a difference she seemed to recognize in her book, which makes no reference to her father being a janitor. Anyway, it's just her lying again. Just like she you remember a little bit ago, I played it on here that she lied about her kid being in public school and he's in private school. She lied right to the face of that black lady trying to relate to her. And then, because the Democrats pandered to poor people, it's terrible because they try to pretend to be poor and they're multi-millionaires. And it's ridiculous. The one thing with Trump that's kind of funny thinking about it is he never tried to act like he knows what you're going through. I know what it's like too. Just walk around in that outdated ankle length overcoat with tie that hangs down just below the no-nos and get in and out of limos and say, I made it, I want to make it so that you can make it too. I can put up with that all day long over somebody that's rich trying to tell me a story about how it reminds me of going to youth camp and the speaker would joke around for the first 20 minutes and then he didn't really have a message, so he would just be like, listen, if I get serious for a little bit, I grew up on the streets. And it's like, no, I'm pretty sure you didn't grow up on the streets. Then they tell you some like how their friend died, and so I know what you kids are going through. But that's what the Democrats candidates are doing. Basically, all politicians up until Trump, they have to let you know that, I come from a background where it was really, and it wasn't hard. So just say that it wasn't. Go ahead, next. China, Russia, and Iran to hold joint naval drills in the Gulf of Oman. They'll take place from this, so they already started apparently, December 27th to December 30th. I don't have time to get into it, but those are the three nations, the kings of the East, Gog and Magog, and Persia, that the Bible says will unite to make war against Israel, and they're now holding joint military drills. So that deserves a whole program in and of itself. So that's all I'll say about it now, and then I'll deal with it in the future. It lets you know you're living pretty close to the final hour of time. Next. This is the dog. This is the military-trained dog. I know people like dog stuff. So check this. This dog is the Special Forces dog that took out the leader of ISIS. Look at the training it does. Check this out, Courtney. Yeah, watch it. It knows how to set itself free. And now it's going to rescue the guy that's kidnapped and set him free. Take the thing out of his mouth. It's amazing how they can train the dog to kill some people and then free other people. Amazing. I know people like dog stuff, so there you go. Next. This is a plane crash, live video. Crashed into a building or a side of a mountain. First people on the scene, 9 dead at the time that it crashed. I don't know if more died, but many survived. And I really would like to know what seats survived for picking future seats. Who dies? Front of the plane? Normally front of the plane, right? More likely to die in the back? Oh, live in the back. So there's like real news you get from independent journalists. Half the time, if you play it, they take your thing down because it's graphic content. I can't remember where the plane crash was. I should have looked it up. Let me see if I can find it real quick. My stuff's all out of order anyway. All right, next.
This is a gun I made myself. The government doesn't know I have it, but it's totally legal.
Okay, pause it real quick. Can you put the New York Times article that corresponds with this before we play the video? If you don't have it, then I'll just show them this. Okay, so this is the New York Times article, which I found interesting. What do homemade guns mean for gun laws? We made one to find out, by Jeremy White, Sonia Dosani, Shane O'Neill, and Brian Dawson. Virtually anyone can buy a kit online to build a gun from parts without a background check. That raises questions about the future of gun regulation. And the reason I'm playing this is it shows you that the people always stay ahead of the curve. Whatever the government's trying to stop for personal freedom, there's always a way people are already ahead of it. So you can order, and they're going to explain on the video, you can order a gun kit and build your own gun at home. It has no serial numbers. You don't have to register with it with anybody, and it's not traceable, and it works just fine. So this guy for the New York Times is going to build it, and it just shows you that, this is happening like London, that virtually has like a complete gun ban. All the criminals, there's actually like there's black market gun companies where people build guns in their apartments and homes with the parts and then sell them. So you're never going to, firearm regulation will only take guns out of the hands of law-abiding people. Criminals don't follow laws. It's like, what laws can we pass to stop these shootings? It's already illegal to shoot people. So people that are insane, it's like when my daughter was watching Batman with me, and she kept saying, why does Joker do that? And you have to tell her, crazy people don't have reasons for why they do things. So anyway, go ahead and play the video. Pretty interesting.
This is a gun I made myself. The government doesn't know I have it, but it's totally legal. You can buy a kit online with all the parts you need to build a Glock 19. You don't need a 3D printer or fancy tools, and you don't
Plane
need a background
crash
check.
was in Kazakhstan, by the way.
Glock 19 during Glocktober, so I got $100 off.
Dallas and I have a timeshare
People call
there,
these
actually.
ghost guns, and they're becoming more popular, especially for people who want a gun but don't want any record that it exists. I'd like to see how easy it is to build one of these guns and to find out what these kits mean for the future of gun regulation. Order is confirmed. All that's left to do is build it. I don't have a handgun license in New York, so I sent the kit to Virginia, where you don't need one. Let's make a gun. I get the appeal of making a gun. I like building stuff. And for a lot of people who buy these kits, that's the point. They're fun to make.
Hey guys, today we're going to be going over how to build your full conceal polymer 80 frame. So it's actually fairly quick to do this.
Kind of paint by numbers in a sense.
The lower receiver or frame is the only part of the gun that's technically considered a firearm under U.S. law. Gun kits aren't regulated like firearms because they come with unfinished lower receivers.
So this is the lower receiver and it's in this jig. So what we'll need to do is remove the extra pieces that are sticking up out of the jig.
Yeah, instead of shop, I took early childhood development. It was actually really awesome. The finished lower receiver looks almost identical to the unfinished one. You just drill a few holes and remove these extra bits of polymer. Then you assemble and add the rest of the parts. If you do it right, you'll have a working firearm. On a factory-made gun, the serial number would go here, but the gun I'm building won't have one, so there's no way to trace it. Gun kits aren't regulated at all in most states. There are no records of sales, and for a lot of people, that's the appeal.
Hey, Andy Lander.
Jeremy White. Andy Lander is a firearms expert who worked for the NRA for 13 years.
Gee, you can
He's
barely
built
tell
guns
by
before.
looking at him.
We're still technically a
Yeah,
free
looks like
country, and
a
I think
stereotype of
one
an
of the great
NRA
freedoms is
gun expert.
having privacy. To me, if you bought 100 guns, it's none of my business.
It's impossible to say
You could tell
how many
how that
ghost
guy
guns are out
voted
there
just
or
by
who
looking
owns
at
them. Last year, nearly a third of all firearms seized by law enforcement in California were homemade, without serial numbers. Still, Andy says the kits
Looks
aren't
like
the
Michael
problem.
Moore's healthy
A criminal
brother.
is going to steal a gun. He's going to either rob somebody and get a gun. He's going to get a gun anyway. I'm not worried about a guy building a Glock 19 in his garage. Nope, dropping in from the top. Dropping in from the top. Straight down.
Oh, it has to be all the way.
You have to clear that, yeah. Push down to the top. Yep, that's it. There you go, you're done.
Wow. Thanks for your help.
It took me about 6 hours to build my ghost gun. If I had to do it again, I could do it much faster. Still, there's no guarantee that it will work.
Scott Thompson, how are
Jeremy
you?
White.
Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
How are you?
Good.
Good.
It's the same damn gun.
Really is.
The difference is right there, serial number. And that's important.
Scott Thomason is a retired ATF agent. He's letting me try out my new gun on his property.
Looks okay. Looks like it's not going to blow up in anybody's hand, so that's a good thing.
Let's go test it out.
Hit. Hit.
Okay. That's a working gun.
Yep, sure enough is. Listen, I worked violent crime my whole career for 26 years.
All right, you can cut it.
Want those officers
That
to
was
have
made by
every
the New
means
York
possible.
Times.
Bring
I already gave credit to the people that made it. Jeremy White, Sonia Dosani, Shane O'Neill, and Brian Dawson. So pretty interesting that, of course, there's no laws getting ready to come in anytime soon on that stuff, but you could stock up, or if they did do a gun confiscation by doing a registration, then registration is the first point to first step to confiscation, because then they know how many guns to come and collect. Those would all be off the books. So the people always stay, in America especially, they always stay a step ahead of whatever the government's doing to try to control the people. I saw an interesting quote this last week. It said, there's either a government controlled by the people or a government trying to control the people. And then when you know that, you can tell which candidate falls in America, whatever country you're from. America was founded to be a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Not a group of parents to tell us what we can do and what they're going to allow us to do. They represent the people, and that's what Christians in Europe and maybe to a lesser extent Canada, sometimes in like South Africa, can't understand about Christianity here, is that how can you talk about your leaders like that? We don't, or your rulers. We don't have rulers. And then people, what about Romans 13? Romans 13, we don't have a king. We have people, they're not in charge over us in that sense. They represent us so that we don't all have to go to Washington, D.C. every day and have a big, long discussion. We elect someone to go on our behalf. But they can be pulled. They work for the U.S. taxpayer. Next.
The overall U.S. economy right now looks strong. The unemployment rate is at historic lows.
This was the last Democratic debate. And I'm not being a Trump shill. They're just the ones that had the video, so they get to put on there whatever they want. I actually don't know what happens if you text Trump to 88022. I've never done it. Just out of laziness. The same reason I've been meaning to put my mom in my cell phone as mom for the last 5 years, but she's still just 1207, whatever the rest of the number is. The economy is so good under Trump that even the liberal hack media moderators for the Democrat debate had to bring up the question, how are you going to convince people that the economy needs change and that we need to make major sweeping changes? You know, it's one thing to try to introduce communism into a nation when things aren't going well, but it's very difficult to introduce communism into a nation where things are going super well. So watch, they even had to ask the question at the Democrat debate. All right, go ahead, roll it.
Employment among African Americans is down. The markets are booming. What is your argument to the voter watching this debate tonight who may not like everything President Trump does, but they really like this economy and they don't know why they should make a change?
Well, I don't think they really do like the economy.
73% of Americans say their economic situation is good or excellent. Excellent. And, by the way, it's the highest in 18 years.
A new CNN poll finds 76% feel the economy is in very or somewhat good condition. That is the highest rating in almost 2 decades.
And we've got to change it by raising wages and empowering workers.
Wage growth north of 3% for 4 months in a row, Charles Payne. That's something that we haven't seen in about a decade.
Wage growth is better than it has been since 2009. That means it is better than it has been for 7 out of 8 of the years that Obama was president.
266,000 net new jobs. This blows away expectations.
And those jobs, by the way, are paying higher wages.
Trump goes around saying the economy is doing great.
Hourly earnings. Are Americans actually making more money in this kind of better job market? Yes, they are.
The unemployment rate ticked down again to 3.5%.
Putting it back at the lowest level in 50 years.
A couple of generations of people have not seen this kind of unemployment rate.
Those weren't just statistics. Those were statistics being delivered by people who, a lot of whom were on that opening montage that I played, that hated Trump, never wanted him to get in. There's a author named Scott Adams. If you ever read the Dilbert comic strip, he was the creator of that. He made first of all, he predicted Trump would be president when he was still in the field of 15 or 17 Republican nominees. And then, it's not a replay. A lot of people keep asking that. First of all, if you've not seen it, then just watch it. So he predicts Trump's going to be the president. Then second, after he predicts that, he says that the Trump presidency is going to go in 4 or 5 stages. And I can't remember all. It'll go, number 1, worse than Hitler. You know, we must get him out at all costs. And that took a while. And I never thought we'd get to the last stage that he said his presidency would take, but it looks like with that video that we're about there now, which is I don't agree with how he does things, but he's doing a good job. And he said that would be the final stage of Trump's presidency, from worse than Hitler to then like one up from there. And then at the end, it would say, people would say, I don't like him as a person. I don't agree with how he gets things done, but he's doing a really good job. I mean, you have to be blind to still be like raging about how bad America is and we have to get him out of the What metric are you using to say that America's like in such terrible shape and we need to get Trump out of office? I'd love to know like what metric you're using. That's why when you hear the people talk and they try to pin him on it, it's just well, I don't like, he's so mean. And then my 5-year-old was telling me that that's now normal at her preschool for people to be mean to each other ever since Trump was in office. My 6-year-old was telling me back when Obama was president, all the children were kind to each other. Now there's just this like white supremacist air in the kindergarten. You know, it's all just like insane talk. But if you go by actual stats and facts, America's doing the best it's done in a long time. Even the liberal media had to admit it on there. There's another thing I was going to say, but I forgot, so we'll move on to the next one.
The evidence is uncontradicted that the president used taxpayer dollars to ask the Ukrainians to help him cheat an election.
By the way, that was former Democratic nominee for president, Eric Swalwell, passing gas live on air. That's an undoctored video. I mean, like Chris Matthews, I think that's Chris Matthews. He had to come out with like a statement that it wasn't him. This is not a fake video. But anyway, this is just lowlights. What I'm going to play since it's the end of the year. Everyone's doing best of. Here's some worst of. Worst of MSNBC 2019. Remember, first it was the Russia hoax. That Trump's a Russian agent. Then that got disproved. And look at all these statements people make that now that it's been disproved, they just look bad. Enjoy lowlights from MSNBC, one of the worst channels on television in 2019.
The evidence is uncontradicted that the president used taxpayer dollars to ask the Ukrainians to help him cheat an election.
It is all part of the Trump campaign's digital strategy, and I warn you, it is bad news for Democrats.
It's good for the economy, but it's good for the economy. They're all jerks anyway. No.
There isn't a strain of racism on the left.
People will die.
We are heading to a civil war.
Millions and millions and millions of people will die.
This could be the last free and fair election in American history.
I want to talk to the white people out there. It can happen here. Maybe it's the Jews. It really seems like the bad guys won here.
You don't have a president, as you said, talking about exterminating Latinos.
Capping her press release with the ultimate clapback to her critics.
Megan Rapinoe, you make us believe. God bless you. She's chicken soup for your soul. This guy is chicken soup for my soul.
You could impeach Pence first. The problem is that Donald Trump then has to name his replacement. But I think that maybe a deal could be struck where he was told, if you don't make a replacement, then Nancy Pelosi does become president.
He died while he was in the custody of
you
the
can't
Trump
back it up a little, can you?
In some ways, they
you have to play the whole
facilitated-
video from scratch? Okay.
Maybe.
Just listen to this lady's logic. We can impeach Pence too, and then somehow make Nancy Pelosi. Guys, you weren't supposed to put it on me when my sunglasses were off because now people know who I am. I'm kidding. Listen to this logic. Like you can tell it's just like coming out. Like she's like making it up. It sounds like a fourth grader giving a book report on a book he's never read. Go ahead.
You could impeach Pence first. The problem is that Donald Trump then has to name his replacement. But I think that maybe a deal could be struck where he was told, if you don't make a replacement, then Nancy Pelosi does become president.
He died while he was in the custody of the Trump administration. In some ways, they...
I don't even understand. I'm like trying to see it her way, and I can't understand how she believes we can impeach Pence first for nothing. And then, I mean, that guy's done nothing. They have no dirt on that guy. He looks like a squeaky clean Baptist. Like the opposite of how Courtney looks. Courtney, you can tell like God's brought her out of some things, you know. No, I'm kidding. But seriously. But so you're going to impeach Pence first for nothing. He doesn't even have any charges against him. And then go to impeach Trump and make him make a deal to leave the vice presidency vacant. And then Nancy Pelosi becomes president. You got to be like You have to wonder, after looking at this lady, if Botox doesn't spread to the brain. The botulism goes straight to the cerebral cortex. Play it one last time.
This guy is chicken soup for my soul.
You could impeach Pence first. The problem is that Donald Trump then has to name his replacement. But I think that maybe a deal could be struck where he was told, if you don't make a replacement, then Nancy Pelosi does
play it
become
one more
president.
time.
He died while he was in.
When she pauses at the one point, you can tell even in her mind, because we've all been there before, she realizes, like, I have to bring this sentence to a close, but the things I just said don't make any, like, there's no way, but I'm on TV and it's already come out of my mouth, so here goes nothing. Hopefully no one's paying attention. Go ahead, last time.
This guy is chicken soup for my soul.
You could impeach Pence first. The problem is that Donald Trump then has to name his replacement. But I think that maybe a deal could be struck where he was told, if you don't make a replacement, then Nancy Pelosi does become president.
He died while he was in the custody of the Trump administration. In some ways, they facilitated Mr. Epstein's suicide.
As someone rooting for you're rooting for everybody.
John Kerry, if he ran, would win. That's all I'm going to say.
Is out with a new TV ad this week, making incendiary comments about gender.
I can assure you there are only two genders.
Or it could be that Donald Trump or somebody knows something pretty extreme about Lindsey Graham. We're going to leave it there.
Certainly, there are many indications of a hate crime here.
This is how you tell crap news. Anytime someone's claiming to know what someone thinks or what their motives are, that's how you know you're not listening to a journalist. You're listening to like, I don't even know what you'd call him. You know, Trump won't leave. Trump's planning on not leaving office in 2024 if he's reelected. Okay, where are you getting that from? And then whatever that last person said, back it up like 15 seconds, whatever that lady says, that she's just like guessing. Go ahead.
Or it could be that Donald Trump or somebody knows something pretty extreme about Lindsey Graham. We're going to leave there.
Certainly, there are many indications of a hate crime here.
It gets worse. One of the offenders wrapped a rope around Smollett's neck.
Where I lived, everybody had guns. No one hunts with those guns. Everybody knows that.
Because nobody in America has suggested banning any guns.
If you vote for Trump, it's like you're going like this. I would vote for Donald Trump, a despicable human being.
No, you won't.
Let me tell you
Stop
something.
yourself.
But my immediate reaction when I really dug into this is these are the social media postings we see of a shooter.
I come from a group of people where it happened to. 6 million of them. And I'm not saying Trump is that person,
But is he an asset? You know what?
100%.
100% he might be.
Pause that. Go back 10 seconds again. Here's another thing you hear from these garbage people that report the. You're not supposed to say garbage people. Garbage political correspondents. Because they'll say, it's 100% possibly true. What the HECK does that mean? It's definitely true that he may be working for Russia. Something's either, I don't think you know what definitely means. Hey, good to see you, Paula, down in Florida. You got to be happy that you're there in December instead of Canfield, Ohio. I got it. I'm guessing. Not a word of knowledge, not claiming to know how you think. All right, go ahead, roll it.
Where it happened to. 6 million of them. And I'm not saying Trump is that person,
But is he an asset? You know what?
100%.
100% he might be.
100%
The president said that we will fly our flags at half-mast until August 8th. That's 8/8.
It looks nuts just to look at.
8 are very significant in neo-Nazi and white supremacy movement.
This single source close to Deutsche Bank has told me that he has co-signers and that the co-signers are Russian oligarchs. Tonight, we are retracting the story.
I think the issue of Russia's attack on our election is not getting enough traction.
What would you have had
the media do over the past 2 years?
This is a 22-month-long investigation. Barr's been on the scene
That's
for a
Kofi
month,
in
and now
3 years.
we're done? That doesn't strike anybody as odd?
It feels like the seeds of a cover-up are here.
How can they let Trump off the hook?
Play media critic. What can we do better as those of us trying to cover your candidacy?
The evidence
back it up another 10 seconds.
that the president used
Investigation. Bar's been on the scene for a month, and now we're done?
Oh,
That
wow.
doesn't
Let's
strike
quick. Pause it
anybody
real
as
quick.
odd?
From 3 years from now, Kofi. Listen to this interview with a presidential candidate. Like, think of what they ask President Trump, or if they get the chance, like, grill him. And then Beto O'Rourke, what would you tell us as the media that we can do to better cover your campaign? Like fangirl. Go ahead.
It feels like the seeds of a cover-up are here.
How can they let Trump off the hook?
Play media critic. What can we do better as those of us trying to cover your candidacy?
The evidence is uncontradicted that the president used taxpayer dollars to ask the Ukrainians to help him cheat an election.
What's he doing? Wearing like a belt mic? The mic picked that up better than his voice. They have like a boom mic under his chair. Next.
I don't believe that our current economic system actually works. Capitalism by design is extractive, and in order to generate profit in a capitalist system, something has to be exploited. That's land, labor, or resources. And I think that we're in late phase capitalism, and we know it doesn't work, and we've got to move into something new. And I believe in community ownership of land, labor, resources, and distribution of those resources. And so whatever that morphs into, I think, is what will serve community the best, and I'm excited to usher it in by any means necessary.
It looks like a game face from a video game character like I designed when I got tired of doing it halfway through, and it's like, yeah, it's good enough. The one eyebrow. So there you have a Denver City Council winner that wants to bring communism in. It's here, folks, and it's all from one party. It's not even that I'm like pro-Trump as much as like the other side that wants to pull people out of In-N-Out Burger for eating meat. I don't like those people. I pray they get saved, but somebody else is going to have to witness to them. Because if I go in for a burger at 12:30 a.m. at In-N-Out, and that guy comes in with a bullhorn, screaming, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to point at one of my guys to do something about it so that I can stay out of jail. Next.
Growing up, black in America, you're told that you're supposed to just be a Democrat. So one day I asked myself, why am I a Democrat? And so I did the research of why I'm a Democrat, looked up what the Democrats were about, then I did research about what the Republicans were about, and I realized that I've never been a Democrat. Anything that I stand for, everything that I was raised, my beliefs, my thoughts, it's all towards the Republican Party. And so then whenever I got there, I was able to get rid of my TDS, my Trump derangement syndrome, and I was able to open up my eyes and actually listen to them and give them a chance. And black people, we don't like to be stereotyped or penalized or placed in a category. So I'm like, if I'm doing that to him and I don't want that done to me, then who am I? So it just kind of put me in a different mind space.
Yeah, and there's just one black lady talking about what caused her to flip sides politically. And, of course, among the black population, I think Trump had 4% approval at election time, and it's at 34.5% now. So it's over for the other side. That's why they're trying to impeach Donald Trump, because there's none of those people running against. Trump said something that was pretty interesting. He brought up how they've been saying against every kind. He said, I don't know what kind of electricity they're for. They've knocked every kind of power. So he said, I'm not going to say anything about it yet. I'm going to wait till they've said so much. See, because look at what's happening right now. They're trying to win the Democrat voter by being the one that's the most radically liberal and saying all this stuff in debates. But then when they finally get the nomination and go against Trump, they've said all this insane stuff to appeal to like 20% of the population. Because they're not even saying stuff to appeal to Democrats. They're saying stuff to appeal to like communists in the Democrats and, like, you know, University of California, Santa Barbara students. But then when they have to go in a debate for president and they're going to, you know, all the stuff they said there, now they're going to have to say to the whole country that hates that. So Trump's just letting them run their mouth, and they're going to get killed at the debates. Again, if somebody's looking on Right Wing Watch, I don't mean literally killed and murdered. I mean figuratively in a debate, handily beaten. Next.
And that's when we started this movement on the college campuses to fundamentally change the culture. No man has a right to raise a hand to a woman in anger other than in self-defense, and that's rarely ever occurs. And so we have to just change the culture, period, and keep punching at it and punching at it and punching at it. It will be a...
These are just going to be, I think the rest of the show is just lowlights from 2019, and many of them will be Joe Biden, because if he gets off script, watch out. So he's basically making a case for when you can punch a woman. Play it one more time.
And that's when we started this movement on the college campuses to fundamentally change the culture. No man has a right to raise a hand to a woman in anger other than in self-defense, and that's rarely ever occurs. And so we have to just change the culture, period, and keep punching at it and punching at it and punching at it.
Campaign director's just hitting himself over the head with a clipboard backstage. Next.
What do you say to those who would argue that, you know, a lot of people in New York move to Florida because it has no income or inheritance taxes compared to New York, which does have some of the highest tax rates in the nation. This may have nothing to do with Donald Trump's legal issues. It may have to do with the fact that once he's a private citizen, he doesn't want to pay New York taxes.
Yeah, a lot of people from New York moved to Florida. A lot of people from the Northeast moved to Florida when they retire. So maybe the president is planning on retiring. I don't know. But under my governorship, the tax rates for every New Yorker have come down. State spending is at record lows. And if anything, Donald Trump, I think, has alienated many of the people in the state of New York. You know, he raised New York's taxes when he passed his federal tax reform with the so-called SALT, elimination of state and local tax deductibility. It cost New York $15 billion. His policies have alienated New Yorkers. You know, to be a real New Yorker, you have to be inclusive. We don't tolerate divisiveness. New York is all about different races, different ethnicities coming together in one community in one state. And they have no tolerance for the antagonism and divisiveness of President Trump. And he has heard that. He's coming to the state to do fundraising. There's been terrible protests. So I think it was a legal tactic. I think he knows that he's alienated New Yorkers, and his philosophy is repugnant to New Yorkers. And I think those are the main driving factors because, as I said, taxes have gone down under me, and the only one who raised taxes in New York is Donald Trump.
Well, will his legal plan work?
Can't even remember why I gave that to you to play. Next.
True that the Libra Association
Al Green
oversees the Libra project.
Listen to what he asked.
Congressman
Mark Zuckerberg.
Yes.
And is it true that global corporations make up the association?
Congressman, the association is made of, today, 21 companies and nonprofit organizations as well.
Of the 21, how many are headed by women?
Congressman, I do not know the answer to that off the top of my head, but I can get it for you.
Well, I believe you can get it, Mr. Zuckerberg, but
you could have got
one would assume that you would know who heads these corporations that are going to be running this global company.
Sounds like a DJ at an R&B station, like at
minorities, Mr.
12:30 in the morning.
Congressman, I do not know off the top of my head.
Are there any members of the LGBTQ plus community associated with this association, Mr. Zuckerberg?
How's he supposed to know?
Congressman, I don't know the answer.
Who acknowledge?
You're not even allowed to ask people
who
that.
Acknowledge that they are part of the community.
Hi, I know you're the head of the corporation that's going to be working with you. Are you a lesbian or gay or bisexual
Mr.
or transgender or queer
is it
or
true
plus?
That the overwhelming majority of persons associated with this endeavor
because
are white men?
only your little wing thinks like that. In real life, that stuff doesn't even matter.
The list of the people who are running the organizations in the association.
Al Green delivering the sexiest questioning in congressional history. Next.
In all of these predictions, so they may be a little off, but we know that we're entering into an unprecedented climate, and that we don't all of the ways that will transform.
Yeah, it looks like
how
Ellen
we live on this
DeGeneres'
earth.
prom date.
I mean, it's an unenumerable list. It's public health, economic growth, conflict. For every half a degree of warming, we're expected to see between a 10 and 20% increase in conflict. So if we get to where we're going by the end of the century, we could have twice as much war as we have today. And that conflict happens even at the individual level. So we'll see rises in murder rates and rape.
Do you know where my shirt is with the massive collar?
It spikes the rates at which people are admitted to mental hospitals. Absolutely every aspect of life on this earth is scheduled to be transformed by climate change. And that's really what my book is about, not just what the science tells us about what's going to happen, but how the way that we will live will be changed by these forces.
So, Professor, let's end on some hope here.
Next.
You talk about civic grace and you talk about courageous empathy. Can you speak a little bit to what you mean by those ideas and also the difficulty in expressing those, in practicing those at a time where the opponent will likely not be using those?
Look, I was running on an Iowa stage, and we were so psyched, hundreds of people there. I'm about to jump up, and this guy sees me, the former tight end from Stanford University. He's a big guy. He puts his arm around me, and he goes, dude, I want you to punch Donald Trump in the face. And I stop in my tracks, and I go, dude, that's a felony, man. and you know, this Donald Trump is a guy who, you understand, he hurts you, and my testosterone sometimes makes me want to feel like punching him, and which would be bad for this elderly, out of shape man that he is. If I did that, this physically weak specimen. But you see what I'm talking there? Even that's his tactics, and you don't beat a bully like him, fighting him on his tactics, on his terms, using his turf. He's the body shamer. He's the guy that tries to drag people in the gutter. And this is a moral moment in America. And
he just did all the things they accuse him of, which he does too. But who cares? I can't stand hearing about bullying from anybody over the age of like 11. I feel bad for kids who are bullied. If you're like my age and you're getting bullied by someone's words on Twitter, no compassion. Next.
Would you consider bringing a rape charge against Donald Trump for this? Why not?
They would love for you to forget about this. But this is the lady that got mainstream liberal media press for accusing Trump of raping her at like a Bloomingdale's or something. Like, I'm sure. You know, even a large Bloomingdale's isn't large enough to not draw attention to the guy from Home Alone 2 raping someone. Is that Donald Trump over in women's accessories raping that lady? So anyway, they start interviewing her and giving her all this press because they want to take Trump down because they think they got like somebody that can has valid accusations of rape. And then they realize the lady is nuts. Like nuts, like crazy enough for crazy people to call her crazy. So here she is in all her glory.
A charge against Donald Trump for this? Why not?
I would find it disrespectful to the women who are down on the border, who are being raped around the clock down there. But for the women down there, and for the women, actually, around the world.
Complete a sentence.
And it was all fairly playful. It was charming. It was exciting. Remember what Donald Trump was like.
This was like the one that ruined her because they were asking her about the rape and she said it was charming. You know, I don't think those two things exist. You know, yes, he is a rapist, but I'll give him this. He's the most charming rapist. I mean, cool. Go ahead.
In 95, 96. On the counter were these fancy lingerie boxes that they used to have back in the 90s. Yeah. You wore lingerie in the 90s, I'll bet, Joy. Well, he didn't suggest it. He shouted it. He shouted lingerie. He may have shouted underwear. Okay.
He just was raping her and blowing her, shouting lingerie and underwear.
I was too panicked to be scared.
Is that Donald Trump over there shouting lingerie and underwear?
Totally, and I put my life on the line.
Do you think that you're going... Well, hold on a second. What do you mean you've put your life on the line?
Well, people have told me I have to be careful.
You've gotten death threats.
I am not looking at death threats. I have the idea.
Joe Biden and her should get married and give birth to the craziest children in world history.
You see how funny that would be to make him put that on?
I guess my question is could there be any DNA on there?
I have no idea. I do not know if the president ejaculated. Have no idea. Lawrence, I wish I had said, I'll tell you my age if you show me your tax returns.
Yeah, it would have been helpful.
Well, so I'm holding my handbag like that. The only reason I know I'm holding my handbag is because I discovered it in my hand when I got to the street.
The statement that he said, which he's just made, which is, she's not my type, number one, that was the number one thing.
I love that I'm not his type. I'm an archer. I have bows and arrows, you know. Yeah, fine. I think there's just too...
I believe her. She looks like an archer.
I think most people think of rape
like a crazy
as a violent assault. It is not.
I think most people think of rape as being sexy.
Let's take a short break.
Think of the fantasies.
And that's when you realize you have a lunatic on your program.
You're fascinating to talk to.
They tried to bring him down a million ways, and it just... That was the most credible lady they could get. I would pay $10,000, I'm not just saying this, to arrange a dinner between her and Joe Biden and give them both like highly caffeinated coffee to keep them talking and just have mics in the room and then just listen to it on long trips, like a 4-hour meal. Guys, we have more videos, but I gotta go. So I'm going to see you all this week, other than tomorrow. My new book, Dominion Over Sickness and Disease. I'll send it to everybody who gives today. We feed 1,000 children a day. It's not all just laughs around here. It's laughs and feeding. So, 1,000 kids a day. If you would be interested in helping us, we're going to show the footage so you know I'm not full of crap of the kids getting fed. They just sent it to us this month. The new one at the new location they're at. 1,000 kids every day. Most of them the only meal that they get. And so they'll play the video. Hashtag donate. I'm going to send this book to everyone who gives a seed of any size. Hashtag donate. Our ministry is Revival Today. I know it doesn't seem like a ministry if you're just watching for the first time. People have told me that since I was 21. You don't seem like a minister. I don't have to seem like one. I is one. Enjoy the video. Good night, everybody.
Hi, this is Stefan from Feed the Hungry, and I want to say thank you to everyone at Revival Today, the staff, the teams, the partners, Brother Jonathan and Sister Dallas. Your hearts are touching the lives of the least of these all around the world. And I'm in San Antonito in Guatemala, way out in the rural areas, way away from the capital. On this area, there's a lot of corn and millet and watermelons growing. These folks are agriculturalists, and today we're at Assemblies of God Church, where we're starting a new feeding program for kids. It's a celebratory time, kind of a Feliz Navidad, a Merry Christmas for these kids here, as they know that their prayers are going to be answered. And the moms, as they pray, Lord, give us this day our daily bread. We began with 250,000 kids in 2019, and we're going to finish up with right around 280,000. Our goal for these next few years is to see 500,000 of the world's most vulnerable children find food and a future in Jesus Christ. And because of friends like you, we know that goal is going to be a reality. Now, hunger never takes a holiday, so thank you for standing with us throughout the years and each and every day of the year to reach out to the least of these and to show them that a full life feels good and a full life can be found in Christ. God bless you. Have a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays and a Happy New Year to everyone at Revival today.